All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Channel 6 TV Community Focus here in Nelson County. Glad you could join us. I'm Kenny Fogle, your host. And we like to talk about little civic groups that are in town or different organizations that are doing good things for people, whether it's locally, nationally, or internationally. Well, we've got a group that covers most of those bases in the DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution. And with us, we've got Ann Hamilton. Ann, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So what we're going to talk about first is what is the DAR?
The DAR is a service organization, and its members have to prove their lineage back to the Revolutionary War. And then they get involved in a local chapter, and they get involved in the state and the national.
Is it hard to get that lineage stuff done? Or?
It is not. They have registrars in each chapter, and then they have people at the state level that will come and help you take your what you think your ancestor might be, or relatives that already belong.
So if you've been around a few generations, more than likely you've got some connection, probably.
You'd never know.
Yeah.
You'd never know.
Now I know we talked before the DAR, women only.
That's right. They tried to join the SAR, which is the Sons of the American Revolution, back in the 1800s, and they declined to let the ladies join. So that made them get really ambitious to found their own organization in the 1890s, and they did.
And I think the honorary chairperson was the First Lady back then.
Yes, she sure was, Miss Harrison.
Miss Harrison. So, like I said, it's a long history there, but in that long history, you've done a lot. I mean, I know now you're the John Fitch chapter. I know. Tell us a little bit of the history of the John Fitch chapter.
Well, the John Fitch chapter started in 1904, and the first regent was Ben Johnson's wife, and he was a congressman, and he helped us do great things.
Yeah.
And then she went on to become state regent. And so someone that people may know, Mrs. Carruthers, became the state regent. And I think that was not Mrs. Carruthers, Mrs. Samuels.
Oh, okay.
And that is Bill Samuels' grandmother.
Oh, okay.
She was a founding member.
Okay. Well, like I said, a lot of families have done a lot to get Bardstown and Nelson County to where it is today. But I remember reading all the story of Miss Johnson. I know John Fitch was sort of a passion for her. She got I think she was wanting to help get the little statue and everything put up there in town.
She did, the large monument on the Court Square. Her husband helped Congress write a bill so that they would undertake that mission and helped defray the cost. We could never have built a monument like that by ourselves. And they then moved John Fitch from the Pioneer Cemetery to the monument on Main Street.
Now, the Pioneer Cemetery, I was going to talk a bit about that. You got a cabin there, you got a little one-room schoolhouse of sorts.
We do. It's to represent in 1840s. Everything that we can is of that time frame, and we set it up as a one-room log school, a farm school.
Yeah.
They used to set up a school somewhere within, say, 5 miles of a lot of different children, and then they had to either ride horses or walk. And everybody came to that one little, and they named them often after the farm that they were built on.
Yeah.
My grandmother taught in a school like that, and it was Foreman School because her maiden name was Foreman in Spencer County. So there were a lot of them around.
Well, again, and you actually preserved one. You moved it and got it.
We did. We moved it from the country into town and then reconstructed it. And we have children and adults, people of all ages that come in to see it. And it's amazing because I'll ask the little ones, what do we not have here that you have in your school? And they look around and they say everything. It's very different.
Yeah, it's kind of blow their mind. Come in and see a one-room school. I think you said you got a little stool there with the side with a little dunce cap on it.
We certainly do, and they always want to know what is that. And we tell them that discipline was very strict in those days, and you didn't mess around
Now,
one grade school.
we have a rich heritage with the people from this area, with connections to the American Revolution, obviously. I think a lot of people got land grants and things of that nature.
Exactly.
And in the Pioneer Cemetery, probably has one or two people up there that are pretty prominently connected to the American Revolution. American Revolution is different than just about any other war we've ever fought, because it is the one that actually created and preserved the freedoms that we enjoy today, that we take for granted today.
Yes, indeed. A lot of the DAR ladies like to find an unmarked Revolutionary War soldier's grave site, and then they will get a brass plaque and have a ceremony to honor that Revolutionary War soldier. And the Cox's Station chapter, which is in Nelson County, that's one of their favorite things to do.
Yeah, I've talked to a lady out there. I remember she was pretty passionate about it here a few years ago.
They love to find an unmarked grave and give someone credit.
Patriotism, I know that's one of your three things that you all
One of
work
the
on.
three goals, yes. We try to, in any way we can, reinforce patriotism, and that being recognized soldiers, veterans. We're recognizing veterans from the Vietnam War in particular in our chapter. We're inviting them and their families to come to our meeting so that we can hear their story. And you're very moved when you hear what some of our local fellows went through when they were in Vietnam. And they're very moved to be recognized.
Absolutely.
And to be noticed.
Well, sure, because I know you're a non-political group, but obviously, you're dealing with things where they're not teaching civics as much in school as they used to before now. And so it falls on the groups such as yourself to promote civics, and people probably don't know a whole lot about the Constitution to some degree.
It's mind-boggling because when I went to school in the 8th grade, you had a year of civics. You learned everything. They're not doing that now like they used to. And we do, Constitution Week is in September, and one of the things we do is we take turns going to the different schools in the area, and we give them a nice lecture.
Yeah.
They don't take it as a lecture. We have a discussion.
Yeah,
We have a discussion with them about what is really in that Constitution that they hear about, but they don't know a thing about what's in it.
Well, I know you pass out things, know your rights, because a lot of people, the Bill of Rights, a lot of people just take for granted that we can say anything we want to, we can do anything we want to, but, there's limits, obviously.
It's not that easy.
It's not that easy, exactly, but if you don't know what they are, then you obviously you're in trouble. Now, I know you also services you do. One of the things I want to talk about is we had a couple on a little while back, the Americanism Award.
Yes,
I know
we
you're
did.
quite proud of that one.
Yes, indeed. If anyone has eaten at Crezo's restaurant, we're talking about Marima and Javad, who had a great life in Bosnia, very successful in what they did, the restaurant business. And Javad did soccer professionally, had children that were doing fine, and everything was great. And then the war came along. They lost it all. And they had, I think it was over a year, they struggled to try and find a way to get to the United States. And it was very difficult for them, and it was hard to get stories about what they really went through during that time period. But they did want to come to the United States, and of course the Episcopalian Church sponsored them. And they came here and found a job working at Beals Row, I think was the name of the restaurant.
I've heard of that, but I'm not sure.
They worked there and ultimately took it over, and then finally started their own businesses, helped restore downtown Bardstown. Javad was very instrumental in starting a soccer program for young people in Bardstown, and they went on to win championships. And then, astonishing, I think he took the whole soccer squad and some parents to Europe so they could experience European soccer.
They have had quite an impact on the local community,
They
no
have.
question. And the funny thing is when I interviewed them a few months ago, they didn't really want to talk about Bosnia. They just want to talk
Oh,
about
no.
their life in America. And I was more interested in the Bosnia stuff, but they want to
Yeah.
talk about America.
Well, they have some wonderful stories to tell about what they had, but then they have some very, very sad stories.
Well, the
what
key to it,
happened
I
to
think
them.
the thing I came away with it from is you don't know what you've got till you lose it. And they lost
Exactly.
everything, and now they appreciate things that we take for granted a whole lot more so.
Absolutely.
So I know another service project, talking about a young man, a young Downs boy that's
Davis.
Davis, I couldn't remember his name, but you're helping him on a project too, aren't you?
We do. We have a contest where they write good citizen essays, and we go to the different schools in town and ask them to nominate someone they think can write a good essay. They're put in a room and given 2 hours and some paper and a pencil, and they can look at the computer for maybe some information, some facts that they might need,
Yeah.
but they can't use it to write their essay. And in 2 hours, they have to write an essay. Then it comes before a group of ladies that decide out of all of the ones submitted which one is superior.
Yeah.
And his won, of course, at our chapter, and then he went on to win at the state level, and then he won in a several state district, and he won that too. So he did extremely well. Won quite a nice little tidy sum of money to help him get to
So
school.
there's also hope for some of the young people today.
Absolutely. Well, and this year the essays were so good. It was really hard to choose. I was genuinely
Yeah.
moved by what these people had to say about their membership and participation in democracy.
You got a good organization. I know your goal is to get more. I think you got 30 or 40 people maybe
We
right now.
have about 41
41?
members. We have some that live out of state, so they're not active members, and some are elderly.
Yeah.
And they come when they can, but about, I'd say, half of those women are very active.
Now, how often do you meet?
We meet every first Tuesday, except for the months of July and August and January.
Okay. So if somebody wants to join, and how do they get, who do they get in touch with? How do they find out more information?
There's an article in the Standard whenever we're going to have a
Okay.
meeting. They have a write-up in the bulletin board, and in it lists who they can contact. And if nothing else, if they hear about it, they can just come. We would welcome
So what do you talk about? Do you talk about history? What's
We
the subject?
have different programs for different meetings. We'll have one on the Constitution in September, and then we have had people come in and sing Kentucky music,
Yeah.
Kentucky ballads, and then we'll have someone that will come in and present. One was atomic bombs. What do they mean by a dirty bomb?
Oh,
It was
my goodness.
Rice Sutherland's son that
Yeah.
was in the military. And he came in to explain that to us so people wouldn't be up at night worrying about dirty bombs. That was a good one. And we have had people, we had one lady that came in and she advertised herself as, "I will undress in front of you." And what she had on was an 70s outfit of clothes
Yeah.
down to her undergarments. And she would explain what each item that she was wearing was and
Yeah.
why they wore it back in those days. And she had layer after layer after layer. And even when she got down to the bottom layer, she was well covered.
Yeah, well, I can assure you.
Back in the
The
1870s.
style back then is just a little bit different than it is
Oh,
today.
very different. But it
Well,
was
it's,
very
like I said, it sounds
interesting.
like an interesting group. It sounds like you've got a pretty diverse group of people. It's just
We
a matter
do.
of just a matter of somebody contacting and doing a little research and find out how far back. I know another thing you all done that I've looked into a little bit is help immigrants. A lot of immigrants that come in when they help them become citizens.
If we can, we certainly will. We have the information that they need to know and the ways that the paths that they need to follow. And then we do attend their naturalization ceremonies in Louisville and Lexington and other places around the state.
So it's a little bit for everybody. You've
And
got people
it's
that have been
very
here
moving.
generations, and
Yeah.
you've got new people coming into the country that are new Americans, and there's no age limit. I mean, from
You have to be 18 to
18.
join.
Okay.
But no, you're never out of the DAR.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Like I said, it's women only, so the men are to
Yeah,
find their
too
own SAR somewhere. I don't know if they got a chapter around here or not, so.
We do. I'm sure there is.
Well, I'm sure there is, and we'll have to get them on sometime.
Okay.
Daughters of American Revolution, again, the first Tuesday of every month, not every month, most months, but check in the newspaper and when they have a notice and give one of them a call. And we do appreciate you coming in here, letting us
Well,
know. And it's good to know
love
that
doing
you're
it.
out there, that you're making a difference, like I said, with the Pioneer Cemetery and the John Fitch Memorial, things of that nature. You see these things out here, but you really don't know, you don't think who's responsible for it. How did it get here?
Yeah, somebody has to take care, preserve it.
Somebody's got to have an idea, somebody's got to build it, somebody's got to preserve it. We just take a lot of things for granted, and it's a shame we do, but it's also a blessing. We've got people like you and the rest of the group
Thank you.
there to do these things, and hopefully more people can join. Well, thanks a lot for showing up.
Thank
We
you
appreciate
very
you being
much.
here today in Hamilton with the DAR, Daughters of American Revolution, the John Fitch chapter, which is in this local area. If you want to check them out, you want to join, just learn more about them, check them out. And I think there's a lot of stuff online. If you just look up the DAR online, they'll probably be able to point you in the right direction as well. So the website's taking over the world. So that's about the only place I go anymore, find out everything. So stick around, a lot more to come on Community Focus, Channel 6 TV. We'll be right back.